In 2010, a family of 3 vanished from their small Oregon town after a high school football game, with police believing they fled the country to escape crushing debt. For 15 years, that was the accepted story, a local mystery whispered about in diners and coffee shops. But when a historic drought drains a local reservoir to its muddy floor, a volunteer search team's sonar detects a sunken sedan, their car, and unearths a secret far more sinister than anyone could have ever imagined. If you believe that time can't keep all secrets buried, then join us for the story of the Miller family, a case that proves the past can resurface in the most unexpected ways. The year is 2025, and Oregon is parched. A relentless drought has tightened its grip on the Pacific Northwest for 3 straight summers, reducing mighty rivers to mere streams and pulling back the waterline of reservoirs to reveal long submerged landscapes. It is this grim, cracked earth at the edge of the Blue Creek Reservoir that has become a new frontier for a team of volunteer divers and sonar specialists. They call themselves Echo Finders, a group dedicated to solving cold cases by exploring these newly accessible depths. One of them is Leland, a retired geologist who now spends his weekends charting the monochrome world of his side-scan sonar. For 2 days, his screen has shown nothing but the ghostly outlines of rocks, ancient tree stumps, and the occasional lost fishing boat. But on a sweltering Sunday afternoon, a different shape materializes. It's angular, metallic, and unmistakably the form of a vehicle. He carefully marks the coordinates and radios his team. Within the hour, the Northwood County Sheriff's Department is on its way. When Detective Kincaid arrives, he feels a familiar tightness in his chest. He's a veteran of the force, counting the years to retirement, and the Miller case is a ghost that has haunted his entire career. It was one of the first major investigations he worked as a young detective back in 2010, a case that dissolved into frustrating rumors and dead ends. As he stands on the dry, dusty reservoir bank, watching the recovery crew assemble their gear, the memories of 15 years prior feel as fresh as the newly exposed mud. To understand the mystery, you have to understand the Millers. Donovan Miller was a custom home builder, a good man whose business had been kneecapped by the 2008 financial crisis. His wife, Elara, was a compassionate part-time nurse, the quiet anchor of their family. And then there was their son, Kalen, a reserved but brilliant 16-year-old and the star quarterback of the high school football team. To everyone in Northwood, they were a picture-perfect family, navigating the same economic storms as everyone else. But behind closed doors, the pressure was immense. The arguments over bills had grown sharper, and the threat of foreclosure loomed over their lives. The last confirmed sighting of the family was on a crisp Friday night in October of 2010. They had been at the Northwood High Stadium, watching Kalen lead the team to a homecoming victory. Multiple people saw them in the bleachers, beaming with pride. They were seen leaving the parking lot after the game, presumably for the short drive home. They never made it. The next morning, when Elara missed her shift at the local clinic, a concerned co-worker called the police. The Miller house was strangely still. The front door was unlocked. In the kitchen, plates with the remains of a pre-game dinner sat on the counter. In the den, the television was on, casting a silent, flickering glow. There were no signs of a break-in, no indication of a struggle. The family's wallets, Elara's purse, and their car keys were gone. Their vehicle, a 2008 Lincoln sedan, was also missing. The investigation quickly zeroed in on the family's dire financial situation. Drowning in debt, it seemed plausible, even likely, that the Millers had simply decided to disappear. They packed what they could, took the cash they had, and fled to start a new life, free from the weight of their failures. It was a neat theory, and with nothing to contradict it, the case went cold. The Millers became a Northwood cautionary tale, the family that simply vanished. Now, 15 years later, a diver's helmet breaks the surface of the reservoir's murky green water. He gives a thumbs up. The tow cables are secure. On the shore, a heavy-duty winch truck whines as it begins to pull. Slowly, a dark, monstrous shape is dragged from the depths, shedding a skin of mud and weeds. It's a Lincoln sedan, its paint blistered and its body scarred with rust, but it is undeniably the Millers' car. A tense silence falls over the small crowd of officials and volunteers as the vehicle is hauled onto the dry lake bed. The windows are opaque with 15 years of accumulated grime. Detective Kincaid walks toward the car, his heart pounding a slow, heavy rhythm against his ribs. A forensics team moves in, using a pry bar to force open the driver's side door. The air that escapes is a foul mix of decay and stagnant water. Kincaid steels himself for what he knows is coming. The car's interior is a mess of silt and rotted upholstery, but the shapes are unmistakable. In the front driver and passenger seats are two sets of skeletal remains, eerily preserved in the cold, anoxic water, but the back seat is empty. The initial discovery gives way to a grim, methodical process. The county coroner arrives to oversee the removal of the remains, which dental records will later confirm belong to Donovan and Elara Miller. As the forensics team combs through the silt-filled vehicle, Kincaid is consumed by a single, chilling question. If Donovan and Elara are in the car, where is Kalen? Was he a third victim, his body washed away by the reservoir's currents over the years? Or did he somehow escape the car before it went into the water? The recovery of the car instantly transforms a 15-year-old missing persons case into an active double homicide. The comfortable theory that the family ran from their debts is violently shattered. They didn't flee, they were silenced. And Kalen Miller, the quiet, athletic teenager, is no longer just a missing boy. He is now the central enigma of the entire investigation. Was he a victim, or was he a survivor? Kincaid returns to the station and unearths the old, dusty case files. He spends the night poring over witness statements and financial records, searching for any detail that was missed, any clue that might look different now that they know the Millers never left Oregon. He and his team begin the monumental task of searching for any sign of Kalen Miller after that October night. They run his social security number, search for driver's license records, check credit bureaus, anything that would prove he was alive. They find nothing. For 15 years, Kalen Miller has been a ghost. He has no official existence. For weeks, the investigation stalls. The car itself offers few clues. The years underwater have erased any usable DNA evidence. The coroner confirms both Donovan and Elara died from blunt force trauma to the head, but can offer little else. The case is threatening to go cold all over again until a young, sharp-eyed detective, re-examining the inventoried contents of the car, finds something no one had noticed before. Tucked inside the glove compartment, sealed in a watertight Ziploc bag along with the vehicle's registration, is a crumpled gas station receipt. The ink is faded, but the details are legible. The date is October 15th, 2010, the night the Millers disappeared, but it's the location that makes Kincaid's blood run cold. The gas station was 50 miles north of Northwood, in the completely opposite direction of their home. They weren't driving home from the game. They were driving away. This single piece of paper reignites the investigation. The gas station shut down years ago, but Kincaid manages to find a woman who worked there as a night cashier in 2010. He shows her a photo of Kaylin. At first, she shakes her head, the years having blurred so many faces. But as Kincaid describes the car, a faint memory emerges. She recalls a teenager, driving a dark sedan, coming in late that Friday. He seemed incredibly agitated, his hands trembling as he paid for gas and a soda. He was alone in the car. The horrifying truth settles over Kincaid with chilling certainty. Kaylin wasn't a victim who managed to escape. He was the driver. He drove that car for at least 50 miles after his parents were already dead inside it. Kaylin Miller, the town's golden boy, was now the prime suspect in their murders. The search for him becomes a national manhunt, but they are no longer looking for a missing person. They are hunting a fugitive. The FBI is brought in, lending their advanced digital forensic capabilities to the search. They scour the internet for any trace Kaylin might have left behind. They find it in an old, long-dormant email account he used for online gaming. A month after his family vanished, he sent a single cryptic message to an online acquaintance, going off the grid, starting over. The email was sent from a public library computer in Boise, Idaho. It's the first solid lead in 15 years. From there, the trail, once cold, begins to warm. They discover that a young man matching Kaylin's description purchased a high-quality fake ID in Boise. That ID was used to get a menial job, which was then used to establish a history to get a legitimate driver's license under a new name, Reese Cowan. For 15 years, Kaylin Miller had methodically erased himself, becoming a new person entirely. Detective Kincaid and a team of federal agents fly to a quiet, unassuming town in rural Idaho. They find the address for Reese Cowan, a small house on a tree-lined street. As they pull up, a man in his early 30s is in the driveway, patiently teaching his young daughter how to ride her bike. He looks up as the unmarked cars stop at the curb, a friendly smile on his face. Then his eyes meet Kincaid's, and the smile evaporates. For a split second, he is just a father, a husband, a neighbor. But as he sees the unwavering gaze of the detective, the mask he has worn for half his life shatters. He is older, his face lined with the stress of a buried secret, but the eyes are the same. It is Kaylin Miller. He doesn't try to run. He doesn't put up a fight. When his wife rushes out of the house, her face a mask of confusion, he simply tells her that he is sorry and that he has to go. As Kincaid fastens the handcuffs, the overwhelming feeling is not victory, but a deep, profound sadness. The arrest is quiet, almost anticlimactic, as if Kaylin has been rehearsing this moment in his mind for 15 years. In a sterile interrogation room back in Oregon, the full story finally spills out. Kaylin's confession is delivered in a low, steady monotone. The arguments about money were just the beginning. His parents had discovered he'd been secretly siphoning money from their emergency savings, planning to run away with an older girl they despised. The final, explosive confrontation happened in the car on the way home from the game. The argument turned vicious, more hateful than anything he had ever experienced. His father, in a fit of rage, pulled the car over and turned on him. It became physical. In a surge of adrenaline and terror, Kalen grabbed a heavy tire iron he kept under his seat for protection. He swung it, striking his father. When his mother's scream filled the car, he turned and swung again. In the ringing silence that followed, the 16-year-old boy was confronted with the horrific reality of what he had done. Consumed by panic, he simply started driving. Hours later, he found himself at the Blue Creek Reservoir, a place his father had taken him fishing as a child. Under the cold light of the moon, he put the car in neutral and pushed it into the water, watching as his entire life sank from view. He then walked away, hitching a ride that would eventually take him to Idaho and to his new life as Reescowan. Detective Kincaid listens to the confession, the last ghost of his career finally laid to rest. He thinks of the man he arrested, a man with a family, a job, a life built on a foundation of murder and silt. The Drought hadn't just uncovered a car. It had brought a terrible truth to the surface, a secret that had been lying in the cold, dark depths for 15 years, just waiting for the water to disappear. The story of the Miller family is a chilling reminder that the most devastating secrets often lie within the walls of a single home. It forces us to ask a difficult question. Was Kalen Miller a cold-blooded killer from the start? Or was he a frightened teenager, pushed past his breaking point in one terrible, life-altering moment? Thank you for joining us for this story. If you're intrigued by mysteries that refuse to stay buried, consider subscribing to our channel. Your support allows us to continue unearthing these forgotten cases and giving a voice to the stories that have been silent for far too long.